Netanyahu was outlining new steps to contend with the coronavirus.
The government yet again. The guiding line for me is aggravating the limitations on mobility and allowing for more economic benefits. Starting with mobility, we know on a daily basis and every hour even, we have been following the number of sick people coming down with corona. Our hearts go to the people and the families of people who passed away. We send them our condolences and I'd like to thank once again the doctors, the nurses, people and all first responders and all people involved who continue to treat with the utmost dedication each and every patient, following the values of the sanctity of life. I want to thank you on behalf of the entire people of Israel. It's true that in Israel we are in a better situation than most countries of the world regarding severe patients and regarding fatalities. But this is not enough for us. We aspire to get to the level of success of some Asian countries who slowed down the contagious rate of this virus. And so I decided tonight to offer for the government meeting several additional limitations who are intended to save lives. Now I must tell you, the citizens of Israel, most of you adhere to the instructions of the Ministry of Health, and I'd like to thank you for that. But we are not yet at the point that we're looking for. There are single people, there are individuals and some groups in the country who disregard the very clear instructions that were published. Not everybody, most of them adhere to those instructions in the Orthodox, in the secular, in the Jewish and non-Jewish public. But those who do not listen to these instructions are jeopardizing themselves and the majority. And if you do that, you trample upon the basic agreement of love thy neighbor as yourself. This is absolutely unbearable. And so I have guided security forces to have an operation for enforcing those instructions, especially where these are not being regarded, where there are events that are jeopardizing everybody's life. And those enforcement forces are starting to do it actually now. We're going to prevent extremists to harm the public's health, and we are going to make everyone who attacks the police or any other forces, we're going to bring them to trial, those who are fulfilling their mission on behalf of everybody. And the instructions to the public that we are giving tonight, we're going to minimize the public coming together. We're not going to have more than 2 people who are not from the same nuclear family. After we stopped praying services in the synagogues, now we're also going to stop any praying in the public areas. You can only do it individually. Marriage ceremonies will be held in the nuclear family. No guests, no people invited. And I know that this is very, very difficult. I'd like to request from you, and I also instruct you to follow these instructions. Exceptional to this are funerals and bris ceremony. We will allow up to 10 people, and this has to be performed in an open area while maintaining at least 2 meters between one person to the other. Tonight, we're going to bring to the government's approval a decision to continue minimizing the number of people in workplaces. We're going to go into 15% of people that will come to offices. Same goes for the industry. We'll lower it from 30 to 15%. We will have some exceptions, but this is where we're aiming. We're aiming at 15%, and this is in order to minimize the potential of infection. And, we're going to hear from the Minister of Finance later on. Another word about the Passover, Pesach, which is coming next week. This year's Seder will be remembered by all as the Seder of the closure of the lockdown, and I'd like you to do it together with the people you live with, your nuclear family. Only those who belong to your immediate family will participate in the Seder while maintaining the essential rules of washing hands, maintaining distance as much as possible within the apartment between one person and another. I'd like you to do an additional thing. I'm asking you to try and avoid meeting and visiting your relatives, because the purpose, the idea is not to meet other people, because this is how you spread the virus. So you have to let go of going to see the son who lives in the north and wants to come and see the family who lives in the center of Israel. You will have to let go of meeting your daughter, your grandchildren. There's no other way to go about it. This is true also for the holidays of the non-Jewish citizens. We are congratulating you for the holidays, but we are asking you, we're requiring from you to hold to the same instructions, because this is life-saving. As for the expansion of the financial aid, we have approved a financial aid of 80 million shekels, 80 billion shekels, that is. This is for 3 months' time. It is about 6% of our GDP right now. It is a lot. It is a lot. Maybe it is not enough, but it's way more than you think, and the minister will later detail. Half of this immense sum will come in cash, half in credit which is very, very relaxed and comfortable. All the time we have to find a balance between our real will to assist, to help, and our wish to maintain our economy so it doesn't crash down. But we promise to help everybody, the unemployed, the self-employed, the people who are still working, and we're doing it with an open hand, and the Minister of Finance will elaborate on that later. We are taking care of you, citizens of Israel. And I'm saying to anyone who was harmed by this crisis, we understand your distress. It is touching our hearts. You're going through a great turmoil. Life is changing for everybody immediately. We'll do our utmost to stabilize the situation. We'll do our utmost so that later on we'll be able to return our economy to a track of rehabilitation and growth, and I'm certain we will be able to do it. We knew financial crises in the past, and we were able to handle them well. And we're going to be successful here as well together. We'll join forces together. When I talk about this togetherness, this mutual responsibility, I also talk about a national emergency unity government. This is the time. The time necessitates some concessions, not easy concessions. We all have to bear the burden for the benefit of the people, for the benefit of Israel. There is nothing higher than putting our arms together, virtually, of course, for this national responsibility, for the future of all citizens of Israel. We are in the midst of a grave event, something we have never known throughout the years of independence. I wish I could have told you tonight that we are coming to the end of this crisis, but it is too early for that. It's even very early for that. No one knows still what the day will bring. But I'm certain of one thing. With our national resilience and with God's help and God willing, we'll be able to overcome the corona. A good, healthy spirit in a healthy body. This is so true. It is the key for winning over this plague, this pandemic. Keep yourself safe and healthy. Keep your spirit high and safe. With a great belief, together we'll be successful. Thank you very much.
We just heard Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu speak about new measures that are going to be put into place, voted on this evening by the Israeli government to restrict social movement. Let's listen to Finance Minister Moshe Kahlon now.
The state of Israel has experienced the greatest financial crisis. Within a month, we came from 30,000 unemployed to about 1 million people who are unemployed. This is something that is incomprehensible. Full branches and businesses were shut down. Hundreds of thousands of households are crumbling due to this financial burden. We, as the State of Israel, we, as the financial system, came into this crisis with a very stable market, with the lowest unemployment rate in the history of Israeli market, and credit rating, which is the best, the highest since the establishment of the state. And I'm saying to all citizens of Israel, we will go back to financial resilience, to economic resilience, faster than one expects. This situation will not continue forever. I believe that immediately after the holiday of Passover, the market will go back to function gradually, perhaps, but it will go back into functioning. The plan that we have today, together with the governor of the Bank of Israel, Professor Yaron, and the Director General of the Prime Minister's office, Mr. Peretz, is the broadest, largest one that Israeli economy has ever known. This is intended to provide a wholesome answer for the crisis that was created. Today, we're adding 70 billion shekels in addition to the 10 billion that we already offered in the past. Altogether, 80 billion shekels. It is a lot of money. It is about 6% of Israel's GDP. This includes 4 main layers. The first one is, of course, health. 10 billion shekels for the health system in order to fight the coronavirus. Second is a social network, social protection. We have given it to the people who are employed, self-employed, and to the elderly, about 20 billion shekels there. The third layer is assisting the SMEs for their continuing functioning. This is what we have allocated 30 billion shekels for that. And the fourth layer, the last one, is an acceleration plan for the market and maintaining the growth engines for the day after the virus. For this, we have allocated 8 billion shekels. And before I'll go into further detailing, I know, and I'm well aware of the fact that this will not put things back to where they were, not for employed, self-employed. Unfortunately, it will also not bring the Israeli society back to where it was. But we're still talking about a most meaningful plan that the Israeli market has ever known. And as we will be required further, we will go and improve on that. And I have no doubt that if this crisis continues for a long duration of time, we will be required to offer additional plans and additional aids. We will not allow the Israeli markets to collapse. We, as a government, and also as the Ministry of Finance, will do our utmost to stabilize the economy, to stabilize the market at this harsh time, even if we will be required to allocate more resources. Within this program, we are putting out a security net for the employed, for the self-employed. We also talk about absence of leave pay and unemployment pay after we have alleviated the conditions for that. When I'm talking about that, we have 2 very meaningful things here. The first thing, in the past, before the crisis, in order to receive unemployment pay, you had to accumulate 12 working months in retrospect. We have now cut it back to 6 in order to make it easier. The second thing, we have prolonged it for 136,000 citizens over the age of 67. Before the crisis, they were not entitled for unemployment pay if they lost their job, but we are now including them in this package, and they'll be able to receive either absence of leave pay, or leave of absence pay, or unemployment pay. Moreover, we have now 3 billion shekels grants for self-employed whose income was also suffered a blow. In the next month, they'll receive up to 6,000 shekels, and next month up to 8,000 shekels, so that on average it will be 17,000, up to 70,000 shekels for every business owner, a self-employed whose income was harmed. As for assistance to SMEs, we have allocated 6 billion shekels for that. We also allocated 3 billion shekels for the advances of taxes. This means that if a business paid 1,000 shekels on February and in March 500, so the turnover was harmed, he is going to receive this gap back. We have allocated 3 billion for canceling property tax for businesses. We're talking about businesses who suffered a blow here. We are canceling the property tax because we didn't want to reach a situation where a business will have to pay property tax if they have no income. We're talking about 3 billion shekels. 8 billion shekels. We have a fund for loans guaranteed by the state for SMEs. We're talking about a loan of up to 400 million. The new funds are way more improved, more friendly, and the conditions are better. The return will begin only in a year's time, and throughout this year, if you take a loan, you don't need to pay anything in return, not even the interest. We're going to finance this interest for the first year. So they'll start paying only in a year's time, and this loan is for 5 years. We have another fund of 6 billion shekels for the large businesses whose volume is above 400 million shekels. Another fund of 4.5 billion shekels is a leverage fund for rehabilitating businesses immediately upon the end of the crisis, and 25 billion shekels for additional use. And I'd like to take this opportunity and turn to the financial institutions, banks, institutionals. Please help people make things easier. This is not time for petty calculations. This is not time to pressure people. Right now we have a very deep crisis, and we expect all these financial bodies to partake here to assist the citizens of the State of Israel, the self-employed and the employed. We're doing our utmost in order to help all the population. It is possible that there are some segments of the population who have been harmed, and they did not hear them listed in the plan that I have just detailed. We will allocate 70 million shekels to handle these segments of populations. We're not going to neglect any part of the population. On a personal note, after more than 17 years in the public service, in which I had the privilege of serving as a parliament member, as the chairman of the Economy Committee, as Minister of Welfare, as Minister of Communication, and in the past 5 years, a great privilege of serving as Minister of Finance for the State of Israel, I intend, upon the compilation of the new government, to retire from political life. Throughout the years of my public service, I did my utmost to serve the people, to serve the country. I did it according to Jewish and Zionist values, values I drew from my parents' home, who led me to work for the weakened populations, for minimizing gaps in Israel, for social justice to each and every citizen in Israel. I'm ending my post here, my role here, with a lot of satisfaction. The contribution for the entirety, for the public, is being done not for only through the Knesset and the government. They are in my blood. They come from my home, and I'm certain that I will continue serving the public wherever I will be, even as a regular citizen. Thank you very much.